I saw that most of the questions that we have are related to NRCS right now. I haven't seen any for Fred and for Kevin. And do you see questions, Brandon, or do you want me to read them?
It's up to you. I don't mind addressing them. I can see most of them.
Okay, go ahead.
So one thing I wanted to address was actually where the practice is designed to be implemented, or rather than that, say why. Questions came in that said, why is grassland excluded, and why can't we use down timber in the woods and whatever? And that's something I want to clarify. So native grassland, there's an exclusion there for native grassland, but not for pasture or any sort of grassland that is not native. So disturbed grasslands, there's been some work in California done with regenerating native rangelands that were degraded, and so they're no longer native, but the idea is that you can bring them back up to some particular level using biochar or compost. So it's not just grassland, it's only native grassland. And then with regard to the forestry situation, so no, it's, you know, in the West Coast in particular, where downed timber is a real issue and causing a wildfire hazard, that's definitely makes sense to use it there. But take, for instance, in the Northeast region, where, you know, I don't know when the last time we've had a wildfire in the forest is, but it's been a long time. And so a lot of the down timber is there to provide wildlife habitat and improve soil health. And so it's still not excluding those sources. It's saying make sure you have a forest management plan that where you don't take too much of that particular carbon source from the forest floor. Okay, New Jersey had some fires a couple of years back. All right, thanks, Jim. Yeah, no, I'm not a forester, so all right, appreciate that. Peter was tweeting. He said, "Oh, Peter tweeted about the downed trees, which I just answered." And just to say, you kind of said the practice was designed to be slow, and while you were happy with it in one perspective, you thought it was designed to be slow. And the thing is, yeah, it's not designed to be slow. It may be slow, but there's a whole lot of things that go into planning a particular practice and getting financial assistance, and all of them require working with your NRCS field office. So, so yeah, while it's not intended to be slow, it may be. But then there was a question that came up about 590 in nutrient management and how that relates with this practice. And so the idea here is that while states can make things stricter, the idea here is that you don't necessarily need 590 in order to plan 808. So the thought was that if we can put these low amounts out there, then we can actually get them planned relatively quickly and easier. The whole NRCS process is kind of been revamped to try to get some fast passes, if you will, into the conservation planning procedures. So that, you know, I've been looking at 808 as being a fast pass. Question related to precision and deep application of biochar when we rewrite the standard. I think the precision part definitely makes a lot of sense. The deep application, I'd love to see more literature on. Not that I've gone looking, but if anyone has any literature, please send my way. What we know that we want to do is we want to apply these amendments with the least amount of disturbance. If you remember going back to the 4 soil health principles, and sometimes deep application may not be the least amount of disturbance. Let's see. Was that all the questions? That's all that I see.
There is one about, can be biochar in NRCS programs used for carbon credits?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd open that up to somebody else besides me. I would assume so, but that's not my knowledge area.
Thank you. And there was another one, if you could define compost.
Yeah, we define compost in the standard, and it's very similar to how the National Organic Program does define it as well. We have a percent solids and a couple other factors that we need in there. I saw the question about fungal versus bacterial dominated. We're not at that particular level right now in terms of defining what compost can be used based on those microbial characteristics or not.
Thank
Is it
you.
possible to get yeah, I just see this question. Is it possible to get assistance in Indiana for small farms with biochar practices? And Indiana did sign up for 808. It was one of the 20 states, so you could, yeah.
There are a few more. Did you say, is it, there's another one from Troy. Is it correct to say that the NRCS is application-based and not producer-based in regard to financial support?
Is application-based and not producer-based?
Mm-hmm. Maybe Troy could clarify that a little bit.
No, I don't know what that means.
So would the person using the biochar get the assistance rather than the person supplying the biochar?
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yes, the producer, the actual farmer applying the biochar would get the assistance.
Can biochar be used for the 45Q credit?
I don't know. I don't even know what that is. So
yeah, biochar is not included in 45Q at this time, and that's one of the things we've been discussing on the biochar policy task force about including biochar on 45Q.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. Any other questions, Carlos? I'm trying to catch some of them.
I'm trying to read also.
So I can jump in one really quickly. I believe this one is for Brandon. So earlier, prior to your session, Donna had asked, she said, I have a meeting planned with my NRCS rep to review the program and discuss my soil plan later this month. I have to learn a lot about this exciting NCRS program. I'm a market gardener. Is the 808 soil health better suited for the really bigger producers?
No, the answer is no. Really, a lot of the NRCS, a lot of the states with NRCS that signed up for 808 are actually targeting it more towards smaller growers right now until they get a better grasp of the practice. So I would say you're probably more likely to have the practice be available to you than the larger farms.
Thank you.
It's another question about the amount allocated for 808 program and how it's going to be distributed into the participant states.
Yeah, so this would, right now, it is coming out of the regular state allocations. So you'd have to compete with a lot of different groups for that particular pool of money. So there's no set number coming from headquarters right now. It's right up to the state allocation. There is no minimum acreage requirement, and we'll see in a year or two whether we can come up with a specific national level incentive or program that we can provide specific funds to. But I think we need to get it up and rolling first before we do that.
Thank you. Do you need to demonstrate need, for example, low soil organic carbon levels, or you can apply no matter what?
Right, good question. So if you go back to the resource concerns, notice how they were written in the negative, like aggregate instability or soil organism habitat loss, soil organic matter depletion. So you do have to demonstrate that you have a resource concern. And we have a number of mechanisms that our field staff can use when they actually go out to your farm. They'll go out to your fields and they'll do some sort of inventory and assessment to determine where you are. Obviously, soil tests that show a decline in carbon is probably, or soil organic matter is the simplest way.
Thank you. There is one question about collaboration between USDA and FAO about in biochar. As far as I know, in Forest Service, we have collaboration with FAO in many topics, mostly in forest inventory and resource assessments. We have not interacted yet with our biochar initiative with FAO, but it's something that we will look into that to our international programs office, and we will try to respond to that. We know about that big initiative that FAO has in place. I also saw one more question for Fred, I think, about need funds for manufacture. I'm sorry, I cannot see it very well, but it's from John Wester. It says we have an updated pyrolyzer design that will reduce the input required to run it by nearly 90%. I need funds to get the full. And then size, unit manufacture, which program will be the best to apply for assistance?
So do I understand that they need funds for a demonstration unit?
No, for manufacture the unit.
Well, if it's an existing company and they have tangible balance sheet equity, or they want to do a project finance model on their business, if it's commercially available, the B&I would be easier to use. That's a loan guarantee program, and they can access up to $25 million without being an agricultural cooperative. That would allow them to get a higher amount of funding. I have my contact information in the slides, or you can get in touch with me at frederick.peacock@usda.gov. Be happy to go into details. The use of the 9003 program has a phase 1 and phase 2 process. So the earliest opportunity to apply would now be in the spring of 2021, whereas B&I is open on a continuous basis. So why don't they get in touch with me, and we can give them the best route when we have a little more information about the particular project.
Thank you so much, Fred, Brandon, and Kevin. I have to call to end this session because we are, I think, 2 minutes behind now. Now we are going to have a presentation from Christine Tripon from the Agricultural Research Service. She's going to speak about her research in agriculture related to biochar and food production. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you joining us today to this National Week that we are starting, and we will finish on Friday. Thank you.